Dennis Lamare is from Newport. He's married, has a 25-year-old son. He received his education at Boston University. He is now an independent insurance agent. Lamare's Senate opponents, of course, include Kelly Ayotte, Jim Bender, Bill Binney, and Ovid Lamontagne. Dennis, welcome to the program, first of all.
Thank you, John.
Good to see you. Now, let's be realistic. Right now, the vast majority of the people are sitting there watching saying, who is this guy? Well, why did you enter this race?
Well, I got into the race, I think, because the country's going in the wrong direction. And I started this process back in September, and I said, what are the issues, which I knew at the time, but internally, what are the issues? How can I respond to them, and do I want to get into this race? And then around April 1st, I said, well, let's take a chance. I said, who are the other candidates, and are they going to speak for me and to me? And the answer was no. So I started looking at what's going on in Washington, and I said, do I know who those people are that are causing the problems down in Washington, and who are they? And I come down to the conclusion that they were millionaires and attorneys. And in Congress, we have 237 millionaires or attorneys, and about 46% attorneys and millionaires. So that's the ratio in the House. And then the Senate is almost the same. So I looked at the Senate race that we're in now, and I said, there are 5 of us in the race, and 2 of us are attorneys, and 2 of us are millionaires, and then there's myself, which is neither. And I said that if somebody's going to speak for me, it's going to be me. So I looked out there and I said that there's nothing that they're offering other than just the usual rhetoric. Every election cycle, we always hear, I'm going to go down to Washington and clean up the corruption and everything like that. And it's the same thing. And right now, the country's going in the wrong direction. All
right, so tell me your thoughts. You say you get down to Washington, obviously jobs and the economy is what's dominating discussion right now. What would you do differently to turn things around?
Well, I think right now in New Hampshire, basically, everybody's talking about cutting taxes, and I think that's a remedial issue. It's a superficial issue. It will help us because I think that the companies in New Hampshire, generally, their revenues are probably $50,000 to $100,000 on the average. Now, if you take all of their expenses away, their taxable income is going to be around $10,000 or less. And if you give them a 15% decrease in that amount of taxes that they're going to pay, they're only going to save about $1,500 on a yearly basis. And that's not going to be enough to expand their business, hire people, and give them the things that they need to grow. So what I would do is I would ease up the restrictions that the banks have to lend out the money and put out their money that's collateralized against their business to give them the money that they need to grow, up to $100,000, $500,000, whatever it is, it's collateralized. Give them the money to buy new equipment, hire people, do what they need to grow, and I think that will help out a lot.
You're talking about the 15%, for some of the larger companies, however, and I know you were talking on the average, but for some of the larger companies, 15% tax cut is huge and convenient.
Well, it is, but I think that the majority of companies in New Hampshire are very small. They hire maybe 10 to 15 people maximum, and that's the majority of the companies. But yes, on the large scale, it will help them. But we have to look at what's going on in New Hampshire. It's the smaller companies that need the help.
All right, Dennis, let's talk about what already has been done, and I want to talk about the stimulus. We've been asking everybody just, well, agree with the philosophy behind it. Do you think it worked?
I don't believe that it worked. I would not have voted for it because, first, there's no accountability, and it went to the wrong recipients. It went to the banks over in Europe. It went to grow jobs outside of the United States, mainly in China and Germany. And
well, the White House says it saved tens of thousands of jobs here, saved or created tens of thousands.
Well, but what it did was save the jobs for the unions, for the government workers. It didn't do anything for the common person, such as myself. If I was out of work, it didn't help me get a job. So it went toward the wrong end of the spectrum, and it helped out the government jobs and didn't help out the public sector.
All right, let's talk about a little foreign policy. Obviously, Afghanistan remains a major question out there. How long do you think we should be there? What do you think of the current strategy as it stands right now?
Well, Afghanistan by itself is a tribal nation, and there's no loyalty to the central government. So it's going to be fractured, and there most likely would be never a cohesive unit over there that we can deal with on a national basis, because their loyalty is to themselves and to their community. So for us to say that we're going to get everybody together and fight as one unit against whoever's trying to attack them is going to be very difficult. I think that we should withdraw out of there very soon, probably within the next 3 or 4 years, or even sooner. Don't televise or telegraph what we're going to do, but I think that we should get out of there.
Are you talking about a complete withdrawal or just more strategic?
Well, I think that we should most likely get out of there altogether. We should train their troops to protect themselves as best they can. If they want to, that's great. If they don't want to, that's great too. But we can't be there forever. If you look at all the wars that we've been in the last 50 or 60 years, we've held a presence here for a long period of time. It's in Korea. We've been there since 1951 or 52. We haven't left there. In Vietnam, we were there 20 years before we left. In Iraq, we've been there since 92. It's been 18 and a half years. And in Afghanistan, we've been there 9. So no matter where we've gone as a war, we've really never left. So we have to define our goal, have a strategy to get out of there, which we don't right now. And we're in what we call mission creep. We were there for the purpose of Al-Qaeda. And now, as General Petraeus had said, that there are 50 to 100 Al-Qaeda left in the country. And we have 100,000 people looking for 100. That's 1,000 to 1 ratio, and we haven't found them. So now the mission creep is to Taliban. And they're in Pakistan. So now what do we do about Pakistan? Do we keep chasing them everywhere that they go? And the answer is no. So we have to define our mission now in the next couple of years and find a way out of there. And what I would do is bring those troops home and put them on the border here in the United States, along Texas, New Mexico, Texas, and California, close the border down. And give them the resources that they need to protect us here at home, which is ammunition if they need it, and to protect us so that we're not being invaded from the south.
You talked about the long-term commitment that we have in these countries where we've had conflict. What about Iraq? Same question. Well,
Iraq, I think, again, we've been there 18 and a half years. The country is stabilizing, but I think that when we went in there in 2002, as I said, we've been there since 1992, but in 2002, when we took over the whole country, we had a mission there to go after Al-Qaeda, and I think that, well, actually, we didn't know what was there because our mission was flawed, the information was flawed, so I don't think we should have gone in there totally.
Moving forward.
I think what we should do is move out of there. The country is stabilizing, but I think that the region is destabilizing because of what had happened when we got rid of Saddam Hussein. That allowed Iran to destabilize the region. So I think that we should get out of Iraq also.
Okay, all right, let's bring it back home. Obviously, the Senate was busy this week debating the confirmation of Elena Kagan. If you're in the Senate, thumbs up, thumbs down, what do you think?
I would not have voted for her. I don't think that she had the qualifications, but the president does have the prerogative and the right to nominate whoever he wants. You and I could have been nominated for the Supreme Court, but that doesn't mean that we're qualified or should have a lifetime job. So I would not have voted for it. And I'm kind of disappointed in Senator Gregg that he voted in that way too.
Quickly, I want to ask you about the oil spill as well. Obviously, the situation is stabilized and the static kill appears to have worked or is working. Looking back at it now, government response, where do we go right? Where do we go wrong? What do you think?
Well, I think there's culpability on both sides. I think that BP should have had a plan of action for all contingencies that could have gone on, whether it was a fire or what happened is it imploded and fell down to the bottom of the ocean. There should have been a plan to cap that right away, and it shouldn't take 100 days for that to happen. Now the government is culpable too because they didn't follow through on their part to make sure that there was a contingent plan for everything that could have happened.
You're talking about the regulatory aspect of things well before the accident even happened.
Exactly. That they should have made sure that there was a plan of action to happen for anything that could have happened. And they didn't do that. And they allowed permits to be given out right away in minutes, other than verifying what they were asking those permits to be done for. It seems like somebody should have, on BP or the government should have had the knowledge to cap that. What it took was a plumber to design the cap that was placed over it ultimately. So it was somebody in the private sector that just had an idea that on how to cap this immediately. And so that's what we need is people that have the resources. And thank God there's the United States is somebody that's innovative
and the ability to operate under 5,000 feet of water.
Exactly.
We have less than a couple of minutes, Dennis. How do you plan to spend the next couple of months? I mean, basically for you, a big challenge is going to be name recognition and getting your name out there. How are you going to try to cut through the den?
Well, I'm going to do the same thing that I have been doing. I'm funding my campaign myself. I don't take contributions from anybody, so it's a struggle for me as far as the money is concerned, but I'm not worried about that because I'm out there on the street every day meeting people, and I'm getting my message out that way. Next weekend on April 14th in Claremont, I'm holding and sponsoring a Tea Party event over there, so everybody out there is welcome to attend and come over and see what we have going there and take part in the festivities. I'm going to I have a lot of events planned out there, but I think what needs to be done.
Your message for the next 8 weeks, what are you really going to be hammering home?
Is that, again, the people that are causing the problems in Washington are the attorneys and the millionaires. We have two of each in the race here, and I'm the one that's the different one because I'm the one that has the most at stake in this game, in this this race, because it's my money. I don't ask anybody for anything other than to spread the word for me. The other candidates, they have loans against their campaigns that they can get their money back from campaigns, but I know it's tough out there. And with my New Hampshire values, I can't ask anybody to give money to me that they need to live their lives. A lot of the things that have been going on out there for the that have the straw polls,
yep.
they're getting their staff and their people that come to them, they're $15 to $20 an event. And the people that are working for me don't have that money to spend.
Okay, I got to wrap you up right there. And I said 8 weeks is closer to 6 weeks, so best of luck to you. Thanks very much for being on.